On today, the 19th of February 2005, it's now 7 o'clock, and I would like to start this meeting. We'd like to remind everybody present that this meeting is being live streamed and recorded for publication on the Council's website. In case of any emergency, please evacuate the building using the nearest exit and congregate at the assembly point outside the college. Right, are there any apologies for absence? No, but
Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Johnson is
yes, thank you, Chair. We've received apologies from Councillor Kelly, and Councillor Johnson is substituting.
Right. Can I move that the minutes of the meeting held on the 8th of January as outlined in the agenda are approved and are a correct record? Agreed. Are there any comments on the accuracy of the minutes? Very good. So the minutes approved.
Yeah, approved.
Right, any declarations of interest? No, it's good so far. Oh, so we are going to move item 8 of the agenda to the first agenda because it's been called for the reasons being the caller, as and I say it's Councillor Spate has called a call in questioning the information that we get through the planning committee, and it's been said that there could be a conflict of interest as the meeting, the call-in is going to be approved tomorrow, so we could have a stage where it's not approved and we're talking about this twice. So basically we need to go to a vote and say, do we wait and move this till next month for the call-in, because it could not happen tomorrow or it could happen, so we could go through this a double take basically. So we need to decide whether we wait till next month or we go with it today. Councillor Green has said we maybe have a extraordinary meeting about it. That's another thing we can discuss. But say, has anybody got any questions on this?
Chair, I would like this to go to a vote because I don't think this should be deferred to next month. If you look at the...
That's fine, that's what we said, it will go to a vote. It's absolutely, that's why we brought it out first, because it can be, we can talk about it on number 8 or not, sorry, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, so if members are happy to vote on whether this item is deferred, so the Planning Development Management Performance Report is deferred until the Place ONS meeting on the 19th of March, if members are happy to go for a vote. So all those in favour of deferring the item to the March meeting, please raise your hands.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, sorry, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
Will we be able to, if it goes to the next meeting, can we fit it in? Or will it be too much on the work plan? So if we can't fit it in, then it's pointless deferring it, isn't it?
Councillor Green said if it needs to be an extraordinary meeting, but yeah, it will be fitted in. But so just a question. Oh, sorry.
No, that's fine. Yeah, I was going to say, so at the moment the March meeting is pretty full in terms of the work programme, but as already mentioned, we can have an extraordinary meeting to hear the call-in if the call-in is deemed valid. So there are options that we can explore, but either way, all items on the work programme will be heard.
And the call-in may well be rejected tomorrow. That's very possible. So we don't know till tomorrow. Just say that's why I think of moving it, because it could be just a double rollover. Should we just vote on that? Oh, sorry.
Chair, I've got concerns of doing this, because if we do this once because somebody doesn't like the information in the report, we are setting a precedence of deferring items, and this will get out of control. We need to hear this. If a decision has not been made, we cannot preempt that a decision is going to be made. So this is ludicrous that we're even thinking about this.
Chair, right, thank you, Chair. Can I ask, say, Claire, if we... So if we hear this tonight, does that mean that the call-in doesn't happen? Is that the law? Is that a rule? So we could hear it tonight and the call-in can still be put in place. So I think that's the bone of contention that everyone's probably not sure about. That they're worried about if we hear this tonight, that puts precedent that the call-in's not going to be heard. So if where are we?
Yeah, I can answer that, Councillor Jones. So if the call-in is accepted, then it will still, this item will be heard in terms of the call-in, even if you hear the item tonight. Yeah. So either way, the item, even if the call-in is deemed valid or invalid, the item will still be heard.
Chair.
Councillor.
And so if the call-in goes ahead, does that mean that we still get to hear this at this particular place meeting, next meeting, say? Yeah?
Yeah, so if the call-in is deemed valid and accepted, then what will happen is we'll either have an extraordinary meeting or it will go to the March meeting. It will be this report, but we'll also have the information from the member submitting the call-in. So, yeah.
Thank you, Lucy. That's cleared it up. Any vote on that, whether we hear it tonight or move it for a month? So all those in favour of moving it to next month? Thank you. I think that's... Thank you. So we'll hold on number 8. Oh, it means yes, the general... Right now, so we go on to item 4, the adoption of the Thurrock Council's enforcement policy, cabinet recommendations. It can be found on page 11 and 12 of the agenda. The members note the briefing was presented to cabinet on the 22nd of January.
Sorry, that's me, Councillor Byrne.
Sorry, Lucy's going to present this.
No, yeah, so it's really just a report on the enforcement policy. It was a briefing note, sorry. So the enforcement policy came to Place ONS in October last year, and it went to Cabinet in January. So the report is really just kind of finalising the discussion and the recommendations that Cabinet had, just so Place ONS members can see the outcome of their discussions and the recommendations.
Are there any questions on this? Are we going to... Okay. Noted. Thank you very much. That's brilliant. Item 5, Thurrock recycling rate roadmap to 50% recycling by 2031, found on pages 13 to 16 of the agenda. Can I ask Paul to present the report, please?
Thank you, Chair. So the briefing note provides an update to clarify and expand on the recycling rate figures that were discussed at the last corporate ONS meeting. Whilst it was previously stated that Thurrock Council's recycling target was 30%, this figure actually reflects the Council's current recycling rate and not the long-term goal. The Council is obviously committed to increasing recycling rates in line with its waste strategy, that's the 2021-2031 strategy, with a target of reaching 50% by 2031. The briefing note outlines the strategic roadmap to achieve that goal, detailing key initiatives such as weekly food waste collections, improvements at household waste recycling centres, infrastructure upgrades and community engagement programmes. Each initiative has been carefully planned to contribute incremental increases to the recycling rate, with year-on-year targets set to ensure measurable progress. We acknowledge the committee's view that the incorrectly stated 30% recycling rate is not sufficiently ambitious, and this paper demonstrates the proactive steps being taken to significantly increase recycling levels over the coming years. It also provides the data, assumptions and expected outcomes that underpin the Council's strategic approach, ensuring transparency and accountability throughout this process. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Paul. Any questions on this? Councillor Sisterton.
Just a couple of little things. I was under the impression that there was going to be curbside collections for small electrical items. That's not listed on there.
No, the curbside collections for small electrical items won't start until April, but that is a part of this, yeah. It's an e-waste textile programme and fleet upgrades. Yeah.
Councillor Arnold or Councillor Johnson, then you go for.
Thank you. Sorry, Chair. Thank you very much, Chair. I know I'm only subbing today, but can we? I think maybe 50% is even not being too ambitious. I think that's an increase of what, 2.5% per annum. Is that what we're looking at? And lots of the report goes on to say that a lot of these things look at 3 to 4%. Just wondering, I mean, it is only a briefing note as such, but just wondering if even 50% is a little bit not very ambitious.
When you look nationally, if you look at I think it's 311 348 local authorities. We currently sit about 311 in that table, and you could look at in the top quartile. They, even the best performing local authorities are in the sort of 64%. And you're absolutely right, 50%, we should be aiming for higher. Now, whilst 50% target is taking us to 2031 in line with the strategy, the national target by 2035 is actually 65%. So we've got 4 years to get from 50 to 65, which is going to be the real painful part or challenging part.
Can I just add on that one? Well, that was a question I was going to ask, but like we're going for 50. Like Basildon's already on 52, aren't they? So the time we reach 50, are they like going to be 80? So we are still like bottom of that league table. The odds are we're going to still be in a relegation zone, and the others are up there.
It will get to a point. There's only so much recycling at the moment. There's only so much that you can actually recycle. So what you're finding, so if you look at some of the authorities that are now looking at 3 and 4 weekly general waste collections, that's obviously for them it's the right thing to do. But one of the reasons behind that is because they're sort of stagnating around that 60-65%, and they've got to try and push more out of it, and they're the options left. So it comes a point where there's only so much. You're never going to. I'd love to get to 100% recycling, but obviously you're never going to get to that. So yeah, I think what we'll do, we'll come up and we'll match them.
Councillor Arnold.
Thank you, Chair. A couple of points. Just the shops, the reuse shops. Can you just give me a rough idea how that's actually going to work? Because I think that the current thing is that, if you go to the dump and there's an item that's maybe reusable, I don't think other than members of the public are able to come into the landfill and actually take it away. I think obviously they'll be stopped from doing that. So how does that system actually work? Is it the council staff that take the reusable item, and then how actually does it get to a reusable shop?
So the reuse shop is one of the, I don't know the business case number, but it's one of the business cases for 25-26 on the HWRC. So what it will be, there'll be a shop on site at the HWRC, which will consist of a porta cabin type structure building. As reusable items come into site, the site operatives, they're going to be trained by appropriate company that are going to come in and do that free of charge, train them to identify what is reuse, and then they'll just transport that down to the front of the HWC where the shop is, and visitors to the site will be able to then go in and purchase items. That's how they work. It's as simple as that.
Okay, thanks. I mean, has any thought been given to actually sort of the vehicle movement? Because I actually avoid the dump at the weekends. I'm fortunate to be able to get there during the week on occasions, and I kind of save it up. So it's going to generate extra vehicle movement, is it? So is there any thought been taken into what the impact of this shop might be? And if it's successful, is that then going to add to the queues, etc., etc.?
So as a part of this project, the site layout has been reviewed, and there's a revised traffic management plan. So there will be some slight alterations made to the site to incorporate vehicles to be able to stop and park without directly affecting the traffic into the site. So yeah, the traffic management plan has been reviewed.
Oh, okay, thank you. And then just, if I can, just quickly come back to the cardboard collections. Is that going to be starting from April as well, is it?
So separate paper and card. So the updated simpler recycling legislation was notified to local authorities late last year. I think it was around the end of November, which by 2026 we've got to start separating out paper and cardboard. There are some caveats around how that's implemented, and there's something called a TEEP assessment that can be carried out. So is it technically, environmental, economically impracticable to do it? For Thurrock at the moment, with our current fleet configuration, no. So we might be able to defer it for 12, 18 months, because we are in the process of looking at ordering new fleet anyway, because they're up for renewal. So it potentially won't be 2026. It won't be 2026. It'll probably be closer to 2027 when we do it, but I'm working on a paper on that at the moment.
Okay, thank you. I mean, you just answered my next question, really. Is that, how is that actually going to work? But I think you just answered that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Arnold. Councillor Lydiard.
Thanks, Chair, and thanks for your report. I mean, I've been through a few sort of wards today, and I notice that in Tilbury, many people do recycle very well indeed. But there's a very high proportion of people with bags overflowing their bins, and it seems to have been some sort of hangover from Christmas. I don't know why. What can you do to sort out problem families? Because I think many of them must realise that they are probably entitled to another bin, or maybe they should be recycling a bit better rather than just throwing everything in the bin. It is, you know, a minority, but it is really bad in certain roads. Have you got any thoughts on it? You must have seen it yourself. Yeah. I wasn't that happy that after Christmas our refuse collectors couldn't pick up side waste. But, you know, I just sort of went with it for the time being. But it was a bit of a disaster, really, in Tilbury. If you've got any ideas what we can do, I'd be most grateful to hear it.
So there's a couple of things going on at the moment that should help deal with some of those issues that you've mentioned. So the waste and recycling policy that has been put together goes to Cabinet in March. And there's a number, I think that policy in itself is going to make it a lot clearer for residents on what they should and shouldn't do. It addresses the, who's entitled to additional, so large families, for instance, can apply for an additional general waste bin. We've now got a recycling officer, we've got a waste minimisation plan, and the strategy, the policy, the waste minimisation plan, now we've got a recycling officer, they're all linked. So we're going to start getting out on the street, finding out where these problem places are, the challenging places are that you're talking about, be able to engage with the residents, find out what might be blocking them from recycling, and try give them some education and help them along the way.
I'd like to be a bit more involved with that, if you don't mind, because I think it's become so commonplace in Tilbury. People are just forgetting it, and I was actually involved in refuse collection management for 10 years, so I know a little bit about it myself, and something needs to be done to make sure these people, the odd few, really get sorted out.
I think what's one of the other good things about the policy and the simpler recycling legislation, it is pushing authorities to a compulsory recycling scheme. So not that you'd want to go down, you know, initial stages of enforcement, but at an end game enforcement action is you know, under current legislation, we can enforce against that and issue FPNs. We don't want to do that. Obviously, we want to go out and educate and, you know, speak to residents and try and help them find out what's stopping them recycle. But ultimately, there is carrot and there is stick under the legislation.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor. Can I just add to that one? My next door neighbour yesterday, he's moaning to me that his recycle bin hasn't been emptied. He's got sheets and old pillowcases in his recycle bin in plastic bags. And he says to me, what's wrong with the council? And I think, surely you know. And they've got loads of people haven't got a clue. So we're not, I don't know how you educate them, but we've got to educate them because he's like slating the Thurrock Council. I said, the dustmen or the bin men, they're in their for rights. It's not. It's in every piece of paper you read. And so, and you do look at bins and you think, why have they done that? Why have they done that? So, yeah, sorry that I'm rambling, but yeah, I agree with you, Councillor Lydia. Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Paul, for your report. And it's not an easy fix. We all know the, should we say, the waste collections and everything. And you did mention that possibly the waste collections are going to be unified, as it's going to be the same all over the country. So we all know, because we're looking at other boroughs of what they do, and we're sort of analysing it with what we do. Are they doing this better? But once it's unified, hopefully then that would be a better measure of where we're going forward and now we're progressing with the figures. I'm concerned about operational, should we say, in the Linford waste tip, because that's been down, well, when I was last councillor, that was down or put forward for you know, reorganisation, upgrading. I mean, they've not even got electric down here, or I don't know if they have nowadays. They usually have generators and things like that. So I'm wondering is when are we going to start to upgrade that site as to incorporate when you're going to do the textile recycling, the different recycling issues that you hope to do. So that's my first question. When are we going to start upgrading it? Because I don't think you can do it as it is now, you know?
So currently there isn't any plan for any infrastructure changes at the HWRC at the moment, other than what's in the business case around the reuse shop and a commercial waste lane. There is someone working on a project there at the moment that are looking at more recycling opportunity that we can do down there, changing the skip configuration, finding different off-takers for different materials, i.e. sort of paints, mattresses, taking out carpets that we haven't done before. We're looking more at the site on what people are actually bringing in their black bags, and we're hoping to start engaging with residents and talking to residents about what's in their black bag, and then is there any more that can be recycled there. In terms of the textile collections, so the doorstep collections, which will incorporate textiles, small electrical items, bric-a-brac, books, etc., that will be starting in April, beginning of April. And that's a free service.
Right. Another one of my favourite little subjects is you're talking about fleet upgrades. Are we purchasing, or are we leasing? Because we've done this twice now, where we purchase lorries, and then a short while down the road, we find that they're not fit for purpose for the job, and we end up with a fleet that we are struggling with, or we're changing at great cost to have vehicles that suit. So it's one of my little pet projects.
So no decision has been made on what the fleet configuration will look like, or whether we're going to lease or buy. And whilst I understand what you're saying around leasing, but if you enter into a 7-year or 9-year lease and you terminate that early, you're still going to have to pay the full value of the lease anyway. You don't get any discount for that. But I understand what you're saying. But we will look at all options.
Thing is, Paul, sometimes with leasing, you can change your vehicles to what suits. You might be in with that contract, but you can still bring that vehicles back and then change them to what more suits you. That's all I'm saying. Thank you.
But yeah, we'll certainly look at all options, yeah.
Councillor Day?
Yeah, it's just a commercial question. It's following on from Councillor Jones, really, in some ways. Do we make any money out of recycling cardboard?
No.
No, that's a simple answer. I just know companies that do collect carb. Sorry, shall I let you finish first?
Sorry, yeah. So carpet was predominantly used as animal bedding, etc. But there were some changes in legislation. I think it was last year that sort of prohibited that. So yeah, just trying to find alternative outlets for carpet now. It's a difficult one.
I said it's a cardboard.
Oh, apologies. If it's a carpet.
Sorry. Well, yeah, because there are companies that they collect the you know, the cardboard from, say, the supermarkets. It's baled up, taken away, taken to Biowaters or Blow or whatever they're called. It gets weighed when they get there, and they get paid by the ton. So I just wonder how much tonnage of cardboard does Thurrock produce, and will we get any money out of it?
So with most recycling materials, they are a commodity with a value to them. The contract that we've got with our off-taker at the moment doesn't, we don't get any rebate for the cardboard. That's already built into the contract. The contracts are coming up for renewal, so we'll review our position on that at the time. But there is a value to it, yeah.
Okay, it's just there's going to be a business committee about trying to make money down here, and I've been asked to join it, so I'm thinking of ideas how we might get some income in, and cardboard recycling could be an obvious one. Anyway, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Day. Councillor Sisterson?
Thank you. Just a couple of things. The timescale to me, it seems quite long. Like, if we're not having the reuse shop until 2028, and you said textiles, they're going to be this year? Or? So,
yeah, so the reuse shop will be this year in April, and the reason the increases are spread in the way they are is because we won't see the impact of that for sometimes 12, 18 months or 2 years. That actually starts affecting the recycling rates. That's why it looks like that. But yeah, it's the 1st of April, the reuse shop.
Okay, thank you. And yeah, we recycle a lot. As people who know me would not be surprised at that. But there's other places that you can recycle, like all our soft plastics. The supermarkets take them. Batteries certainly go to our hub. Take batteries. Textiles can go to the Tesco's. Have got a big textile bin that you can put things in. So I don't know if there'd be scope for some sort of comms to just educate residents on alternative places that could go.
So some of the harder to recycle items, CDs is another one that people struggle with. I'm talking to the head of service at the moment of waste, and he's going to start looking at supermarkets, what they've got already, and if there's anything that we can sort of complement them with additional bins. Not necessarily collected by us, but there's plenty of other third-party sort of off-takers and suppliers out there that would be happy. Like batteries is one. There is a value to batteries. Curbside battery collection is something that I'm sort of looking at for the next sort of 12, 18 months. I put that in somewhere else, and it's quite an easy one to put in. But again, we need to change the vehicles because it's a slight configuration of the vehicle to allow it. But yeah, we're looking at all those. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. I just thought that might be a quicker route while people are waiting for vehicles and things. And batteries are poisonous, aren't they? So you don't want them in the general waste.
And they cause fires at the plants, as is in the national news quite a bit recently, yeah. So we want to take them out.
Right. Councillor Hurrell.
Thank you, Chair. 2 things first. First of all, my question. Weekly food waste collection started in August 24 for low-level properties with full mobilisation to flats by April 26. Will residents in flats receive correspondence prior to the rollout?
Yep, the correspondence has already been drafted. There are some, they're not in blocks of flats, but some flats that have already had their food waste bins delivered and they've had correspondence. Sometimes the correspondence has to be slightly tailored differently depending on what what we need to put in at each of the sites, because unlike households, we can't just issue everyone with the same kind of container because they've got different constraints and different challenges we need to face. But yeah, they'll all be communicated with. Yeah.
That's good to hear, of course. I'm going to go against the grain here. I think it's quite optimistic to get to 50% in 6 years, the recycling strategy, because as far as I know, we've been high 20s, 28, 29% for years. So if we can get sort of 66% extra, so from 30 to 50%, I think that'd be a really good thing. Obviously, move on after that as well. But I disagree with the rest of the councillors here, because I think it'd be optimistic if we do it. It's a good thing.
I don't disagree. I think there's a lot going on with legislation at the moment that is going to help us get to where we need to go. Weekly food waste, the EPR packaging regulations that have just come in, moving to alternate week general waste, the waste minimisation plan, getting recycling officers out, the work that we're doing on the HWRC with the reuse, the doorstep collection, textiles, books, all those things that people normally put in their general waste bins, all going to be recycled. So I think we'll make quite big incremental steps over the first couple of years, and then we're going to have to really start pushing to get to the 50 later on.
Councillor Shinnock.
Yeah, my question is, I think it would be beneficial if we got more information out to the general public regarding what they cycle in each bin, because, after people put the wrong stuff in, if they had a sticker on it or something to say what goes in which bin, I know it incurs cost, but I do think it would pay off in the long run, because you're talking 6 years to get to 50%, which is quite a long while, I think. When other councils are doing better, I think we should up our game.
I had a conversation, a preliminary conversation with the comms team late last week. I know they've got a strategy on the go at the moment, saying exactly that we don't do enough comms on waste and recycling. I asked if they were limited by slots or amount of information, and we're not. So I'm going to work with them to start getting more out. And again, we can do that in conjunction with the recycling officer. And we're going to be getting out to schools as well as a part of that waste minimisation plan, and that whole training we'll be getting into schools as well. But yeah, I totally agree and take the point.
I'll just add to that one, if we do any mail shots or anything, the last time we actually sent out the recycling mail shots in flow wrap plastic, which made you want to kill whoever ordered that. So we've got to be careful what we do send out, because that was the most embarrassing, with a lot of money, and it's the most embarrassing thing I think we've ever done, especially coming from a packaging background. I wanted to kill myself, but anyway, it's another story. But so we've got to be careful what we send out. Councillor Lydiard.
Thanks, Chair. Just wondered if you sort of liaise with planning, because obviously in the future we've got lots of new blocks of flats, and we've had problems with bin stores in the past. And if you're going to have lots of extra bins or different types of bins, then we may need to change the specifications of the bin stores to accommodate all the new bins, that's all.
There is legislation, but I think it's in the Architects Code, to make sure that there's appropriate waste provision. So that should be a part of the design of a building. Notwithstanding that, we do, the waste team do work closely with the planning team when it gets at various stages, even to the size of the road, turning circles to make sure the trucks can get round. So that does go on. But notwithstanding that, there still are issues that we have to deal with, yeah.
Just one for me. The plan in like two years' time, we're going to have 4 bins about. And we get on with like schools and village halls, because like you've got 5-year-olds and they're not going to go, there's my paper, there's my Coke tin and all that. It's going to be a logistical nightmare, isn't it, to actually get schools and people like that when you've got 5-year-old kids trying to do it. How do we get around that one? Is there any thoughts on what we do with them?
I touched on it earlier. So the schools engagement programme, that's exactly the kind of thing they do. We create games, what goes in what bin with prizes, and where I've been before, they made up a like these bean bags that have different, different materials on them. The kids had to throw them in the right holes and just make it fun and interactive. So yeah, that'll be a part of the engagement programme.
Are we all clear on that? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
We're going in the right direction. I've said it before, but my bin's always emptied. I occasionally moan it's put in the wrong place, but it's all, and I haven't, no emails. I'm not getting any emails, complaints for a long, long time. So whatever you're doing, it's working. Item 6, I was so looking forward to this one. This was a impossible task that was set, wasn't it? And I don't know, what you put in here is just amazing, what you come up with. And we got no money for it. So that, oh yeah, just present it, Councillor Green, because it's like a joy for me to be able to hear it.
Thank you, Chair. The wait is over. As Vice Chair, I'm pleased to present the highly anticipated final report of the School Parking Task and Finish Group this evening. The group brought together cross-party support and engaged with various stakeholders to address school parking challenges. One of our key meetings included a Q&A session with the Thurrock Youth Cabinet, where young people shared their experiences of travelling to and from school. We also heard from Thurrock Council's Road Safety Lead, who provided valuable insights into best practices as well as common issues relating to school parking. During our discussions, it became evident that our work overlapped with the People Overview and Scrutiny Childhood Obesity Task and Finish Group. Recognising this, we held a joint meeting to explore the link between promoting active travel, such as walking to school, and tackling childhood obesity. Since this initiative is ultimately for the benefit of our residents, it was essential to gather their input. To ensure broad participation, we conducted a public survey, available both online and in print. Further details of the survey results can be found in Appendix 2 of the agenda pack. I now would like to highlight the toolkit in Appendix 1, which Nav has done an excellent job of compelling. It outlines various strategies to address poor parking and considers their potential financial implications. The proposed measures range from low cost to more resource-intensive solutions. No-cost measures include awareness campaigns on car sharing and a car parking charter, which encourages parents to take responsibility for parking safely. Moderate cost measures include drop-off zones, as well as initiatives that align with the People, Task and Finish Group's work, such as park and stride schemes, walking buses and cycle training programmes. These options not only reduce congestion around schools, but also promote physical activity among children. Higher cost measures include the implementation of school streets, which involve restricting vehicles access to the road outside schools during drop-off and pick-up times, typically for 30 to 45 minutes. While Appendix 1 presents a variety of solutions, it is clear that no single approach will suit all schools across the borough. Each community will require a tailored strategy based on its unique challenges and needs. And with all that in mind, this toolkit will be initially trialled at one of our worst schools, which Paul and Nav are currently looking into, and that decision will be made very shortly. And finally, on behalf of the group, I would like to extend our sincere thanks to Lucy and Nav for their invaluable support in helping us bring this work to completion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Green, and so I echo that. Thanks to the working group. It's just the work. When I read this, I'm just like blown away, and I thought it was not blank pages, but it was an impossible task was set, and you've done really well. So thank you everybody that was involved with that. Councillor Sisterson.
Yeah, I was on the task and finish group as well, and I think it's a really good outcome. And there's also, what I like is there's positive next steps. So it's not just that's the end of it. There's funding that we can access now. We've got that in place, and that, you know, there's definite ways forward. And I'd also like to say how well it ties in with another agenda item we've got about the active travel. So, you know, if we can tie those in together, I think that's really helpful. Thank you.
Yes, well, I've been running from our village hall to local school. We've been running a walking bus for 6 years, and the kids love it. I mean, the parents don't seem to want to actually drop the kids off at the village hall, but the kids love it, and we've had the same volunteers doing it for 6 years, and it does work really well, and I can't see why more schools, maybe schools don't know about it, but it's just fantastic. Even in the winter when it's pouring the rain, they're out there with their little umbrellas and their yellow coats, and they have a little chat, and they're absolutely loving it. As you say, this is not the end of it, this is just the start of it coming through, so it's brilliant. Can't wait for it to tell Cabinet all about it. Councillor Harrell.
Thank you, Chair, and thanks for the report, Councillor Green and partners. I'd just like to say the way the report's laid out, it's probably the best report I've seen, as in the way it's laid out. It's just, each item, if you want to call it that, is nice and clear. It's in layman's terms, not all covered in big words and all over the show. It's just, if all reports could be like this, it'd be heaven. But yeah, I just wanted to say that, so thanks.
Lucy, do you want to start doing all the reports? No, I agree. So I read it, and it was absolutely great. So everyone's done an amazing job. Councillor Green, do you want to add?
I just want to add, if the group agrees, here tonight, we send a thanks from all of us to Nav. He did pick this up halfway through the process due to a sickness of the initial one, and he's been invaluable alongside Lucy. So I think it would be nice if, as a ONS group, we send our thanks to them as well.
Yeah, absolutely, because it's the start. It hasn't been not been touched on. Everyone's like shied away from it because they thought it was something that was never going to happen. So this is if we only get one thing out of this ONS committee, apart from 106 money, but this is this is a major step, and we've actually achieved something. So I'm blown away by that. Move on to right. Recommendations, item 1.1, we endorse the Parking Schools Toolkit as appendix, attached to an appendix 1, and 1.2, we note and comment the key activities and consultation responses as attached in appendix 2. Agreed. Great. Thank you very much. Right, the item 7, the local plan timetable delay analysis and implications found on pages 103 to 128 of the agenda. And can I please ask Councillor Watson to present the report, please?
Thank you, Chair. So in front of you is a report on the local plan, and this was part 2 of a motion that came out the extraordinary full council meeting, pulled together with Councillor Spate. It outlines the progress and recommendations, the implications of the local plan timetable. One of the key reasons why it has been delayed is twofold. So the Stantec review that was carried out on the local plan identified 50 failures, which meant that was 50 mitigations of recommendations to take it forward. Some of them were things like lack of corporate plan, lack of transport strategy, they were the fundamental sort of strategies that sit beyond a local plan, because as you know, a local plan is probably the corporate plan for the whole of the borough in terms of planning, economic development, so forth. So we had to revise it. It was recommended from the Santec that it needed to be revised. The other reason was with the Lower Thames Crossing. Well, we weren't sure what was going to happen with the Lower Thames Crossing, and we're waiting until May to see if a DCO order will be arranged or not. So that is still ongoing. Meanwhile, we've had to extend it. It's going to cost us an additional 1.28 million. That will come forward in like 27-28 budget. That's predominantly for every time you do a section of the local plan, it has to go to legal, external legal, to go through the legislation to make sure we're in place for it. That's why there's so much cost that's associated with the local plan. And also that it's meant to be a 25-year programme or 20-year programme, whatever we put together. If we did not extend the timetable, and we did go and then put it through into Reg 19, it would not have passed Secretary of State approval at all, and it would have put us in intervention on a local plan. And that basically means that they would just take a vanilla local plan that has worked somewhere else in the UK and impose that on us without any consultation with anybody. So this is one of the agreements why that we have extended the local plan. And I'm open to any questions you want. Just to give you a bit of reassurance around this, internally there is a board that has been set up with officers to make sure that these recommendations are going through and that they are being monitored. There's quarterly updates that go to Cabinet, and there is now the local plan task and finish group that is with members to go through the 50 recommendations, to look at the new plan as it comes forward and make sure that we're on time and to scrutinise it. I've also suggested that that local task and finish group, the chair, reports into this ONS group to give regular updates. They've had one meeting already, and they're due another one in April. Can I just also, please, it's so important piece of work for this borough going forward as well, even for the next 25 years if we're new unitary, because it will be novated into the Mayor's overall strategy, that the councillors do please attend as much as they can and give an input into it. Thank you.
Right, question. Councillor Hurrell.
Thanks, Chair. Thanks, Councillor Watson, for the report. I'd just like to point out, like you said, the 50 key failures. If this would have gone forward, it wouldn't have passed Secretary of State, like you said. It's really important. And it's not really a question, it's just a statement, really. I think that to delay it for 12, 18 months, definitely the right thing to do.
Thank you. So, as I said, if we didn't delay it and we just put it up as it was standing and we went into Reg 19, then we wouldn't have got it through. It would have been rejected. We would have been in intervention on a local plan.
Councillor Sisterson. Sorry.
Thank you. Get it in the end. So you touched on it, but how does this link in with future reorganisation? You may not be able to answer this at this stage, but will they just take it wholesale as we've produced it, or are they going to relook then at the whole sort of county? Or you may not know yet. Thanks.
I can only give an assumption to you, and it is law, really, in legislation and best practice, that every council has a local plan, whether it's district, whether it's unitary, whether it's a county. There's in the combined authorities in the UK, other combined authorities, the Mayor has an overall strategy for the whole of their area, and they're strategic. But the local plans of the individuals, even if we ended up with 2, 3, 4, like districts or unitaries, will come together as one, and they will take our local plan as we've seen regulations to get there. So, and then that part of that will be novated up to the Mayor, and then the mayor will look at that across, and it becomes more the strategic authority on planning and transport.
Thanks. So it will still have value, won't it, going forward? Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah. Councillor Diard.
Thanks, Chair. You mentioned attendance at the local plan committee, and that was because the attendance was very poor, and we just about were quorate. What can you do about that, Councillor Watson?
So I can't force a councillor to go, but because this is a major piece of work, because it's so important for our borough, I'm just hoping that those that are sitting on there, and I don't know the membership, I just know there wasn't a lot that was there, that this is a key piece of work to go forward. And it's okay, members bringing motions and shouting about it and thinking we've withdrawn it, but actually this is their opportunity to also come to the table and shape it. And I think they need to do that. And if they don't do that, then don't have a say, because it's their opportunity to say.
Thank you.
Councillor Arnold.
Thank you, Chair. I do understand we are where we are, and it's, you can't really say any more than that, can you, really? But we are in this place because we were guided and instructed and educated, etc., by highly qualified, highly paid individuals. Now, we are back to square one, basically. But essentially, that situation hasn't changed. We are still now being guided and educated and influenced by highly paid, highly qualified individuals. I mean, how can you assure me that this isn't going to happen again? I know we've got a task and finish group. I know we've got a committee which, you're asking to be more vocal and attendance, etc. But we are still in exactly the same position we were a number of years ago, and it's very frustrating. It's understandable. We are not experts in that field, but how can you assure me that we will not end up in the same position again after spending an absolute fortune getting there? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Arnold. I do understand your frustration, because obviously I was one of that supported that Reg 18 in that December meeting to go out and go forward. The thing that I can reassure you is there's a completely different planning team. You've got a chief planner sitting in there now, which is like we didn't have before. You've also got the head of performance that is very much on this and taking that through that we didn't have before. You have also got the executive director that has personally taken an interest and also making sure that every month they're having a meeting, and they systematically and regularly go through that 50, which there was no oversight on the local plan to that in that much detail. I'm not going to sit here and guarantee you, it's going to be plain sailing, because we don't know what else is going to be thrown onto us, like the local Thames crossing. But it's been looked at very realistically on what we can achieve, what can take forward. And believe you me, I have been screaming about this since I became a councillor 4 years ago, and I've always said that the local plan is the most important, for me, the most important document here, because it holds our developers to ransom and it holds them what we need to come through. But equally, remember, within a local plan there's different standards. There's our borough standard, there's legislation that we can still hold them into some sort of arena to not run off and do anything. And the chief planner has got a better understanding, and he's got a better relationship with every developer. I'm not talking about the planning part of it, but the actual developer themselves, to have that grown-up conversations instead of just going off and doing everything.
Okay, I do understand. Thank you very much for that, but I still can't get away from the fact we're given data, we're given information, we're guided, and time will tell whether we actually get this job done. Because, like I say, essentially, I think we're in exactly the same position. Because previously we were guided by people who I was led to believe were absolute experts in their field.
And I understand that frustration. And as I said, I totally agree with what you're saying, but again, we've got new people, and I've got to put my faith in them. But believe you me, I'm riding this hard as well, and I'm arguing as much as any of the others to make sure that we get a really robust plan, and we need that as well, and it needs to be in place, and it needs to happen before we do end up being another unitary somewhere else.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Jones and...
Thank you, Councillor Watson. You seem to be doing all these reports of late when we come at this committee. I totally agree with you. The local plan is right on top of the list. And my concern, as I've said at council, is that why we haven't got one, we're kind of like open, I think, and we've got to be a little bit more concerned with these developers. Why, you know, they know we haven't got a local plan. We haven't had, and you go on about like coming to, you know, when we come to these meetings and talking about the local plan. But the thing being is this has been ongoing so long now that people say consultations, they're getting fed up with them. They are. We had all these with Kirsty Paul, where you come out to forums, you come out to community centres, and we had the little models down there. I can go back years and times and times and times. So I really do hope that we can make some progress with this. But in between time, I'm concerned that developers may be looking at Thurrock Council and use the opportunity, why we haven't got a local plan, to force certain developments that I don't think are going to suit this borough. So keep an eye on that, please.
So I totally agree, and yes, I will do. I had an officer that used to work here. The same officer said that she had left, got married, had 2 children, come back, and nothing had happened. So at least I can sort of say that with a local plan, it is a 25-year look, but what you should be doing is every 10 years refreshing and looking at that next 10 years ahead, but nothing was done. It's been continuously just left and left and left and left, and then it was a mad rush, and then it wasn't done properly. So, it was tried to be done properly, but it didn't have the right steer to be done properly. So the only thing I can guarantee to you is it will always remain the top of my agenda, and I will always try and push it through. But it hasn't been withdrawn, it hasn't gone away, it's being rescued, you know, and we just have to have that relationship with our developers themselves to sort of like just say 91% of your land is developers, but let's have a proper grown-up conversation about all the infrastructure that goes with it.
Councillor Green.
Thank you, Chair. And being the chair of this new steering group, I can assure the committee here today, it's actually quite refreshing walking into that room last week with and seeing 6 officers at the front, all with different experience, all with different backgrounds, and actually being able to answer questions when they were put to them. So I can assure you, Chair, and the committee, that they will be held to account. They will be held to the highest regard, but we won't be putting up with it in anything. And with Barry Johnson, I'm going to be and Barry should be behind me, he's the Vice Chair. We will be doing this as cross-party. There's no politics in this. All 49 councillors on this council need to own this, and we need to get this through together. It can't be political.
You will be celebrating my 90th birthday as well, so we can have a party and a local plan. A local plan party. Yes. I was going to say the frustrating for me, and I'm sure is we're on the planning committee, and then we had to roll over and let them concrete over Linford and East Tilbury because we didn't have a local plan. So are we going to have that worries because we haven't got a local plan? I mean, we want a local plan tomorrow just so we could have prevented it, at least had an argument. So that worries me. Is that a concern to everybody that what's going to come into planning is quite scary? And I don't want to go into planning meetings with my handcuffs because there's no local plan.
I just think we also need to remember we've got a really good planning committee. And these big developments have to go to our planning committee. And, you know, regardless if a developer comes in and says you ain't got no local plan, or it's on, you know, you've got to do these housing targets and you've got to do this and you've got to do that, the planning committee still has to look and judge it on their merit. And to be honest, it's the first time in a long while that I actually have got total and utterly 100% faith in the decisions the planning committee actually says and does. So that is a backstop, remember, that all the time these are happening, and they can go off to planning inspectorate. There's nothing we can do about that. But let the planning committee do their job.
Oh yes, well, we will, and we try. So what's happened since, or recently, is the green belt. There's now all different colour shades of green going into grey, and so it's very hard. And the planning committee is, social media is going to be them blooming councillors, and they've voted to concrete over Thurrock. It's not going to be the law. Nobody's going to see that. So it is going to be really tough for us. One of the toughest things. But as you say, since May, I haven't sat on a better planning committee. They're all for it. They're all open. They're all honest, and I've got full confidence in them. And look, we've had Councillor Kelly's not here, but he's got 10 years of experience. They're all seeing a massive change, and we can't let the local plan, not having one, affect what we do and what we say. So. Councillor Jones.
And aligned with that, Councillor Watson, is the 106 contributions from developers. We want to make sure that it's more aligned with what the area needs, rather than, should we say, someone saying, we give you that for that is never going to be spent. So that's, obviously, I know you're working on that as well. Thank you.
We've got note the contents of the raw data contained in Appendix A. No. Yes, sorry. No. I'm on the wrong page, aren't I? Sorry, I'm on 7. No, this one. We didn't do it. We're not doing 8, are we? No. Sorry. Yeah. Note the progress regarding the preparation of the local plan based on the 50 recommendations outlined in the Santec Local Plan Review Report, Appendix A. We note the implications of the extended timetable, and to agree on the contents of this report as response to the motion set out in paragraphs point 1.2 and 1.3 of this report. Noted. Sorry, I've a wrong page. Yeah. 9. Item 9, the work programme. Can you take us through this, please, Lucy?
Thanks, Chair. Yes, I won't go through it in too much detail. We've also got the action log and the recommendations tracker as well now, in accordance with the new ONS procedure rules. But again, I won't go through those in detail either. The only thing to note of the March report, of the March agenda, is that there are quite a few reports. I'll point out the Housing Works procurement delivery model, which was requested by Cabinet to go to place ONS in March. And as mentioned earlier, there's also the potential of a possible call-in. But if we have a lot of items, as mentioned, we can look to have an extraordinary meeting. If anyone would like to add anything or comment on the work programme, the action log, or the recommendations tracker, then I'm happy to take any comments or feedback. Thank you.
Councillor Green.
We're not going to get through all of March with a call-in, because we all know that call-in's going to take about half of the next meeting. So we need to make a decision. Are we going to have an extraordinary meeting? We can't sit on this, because we've got next month some very important strategies, including the homelessness and temporary homes report. I don't want to miss them out and having to keep deferring them.
Well, absolutely, because we've only got one more meeting of the year, haven't we? So, but yeah, I agree with that. Can we say we want an extraordinary meeting if it doesn't get approved tomorrow? So that's going to be difficult to say we want a meeting when there might not be, the calling might not go through. Councillor Sisterson?
Would we agree in principle, maybe? Yeah.
We agree in principle that we will consider an extraordinary meeting should it be approved. Thank you, Councillor Sisterson. Councillor Watson?
Just quickly, can the extraordinary meeting just be call-in only? Yeah, nothing, that'd be good.
You've covered 10 action log and recommendation tracker, so nothing else to add, Lucy? Nothing more for anybody to add? Great stuff. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody. That concludes the business of the meeting this evening. I now declare the meeting closed. Thank you very much,
Thank you, Chair.
everybody.